See, people usually go with the fact that sassafras trees are small, but I got news. These sassafras trees right here are not small. Matter of fact, if I put my small hand up there, you can see that these 4 or 5 trees right here probably go up, I don't know, maybe 50 feet, 60 feet or so. That's all sassafras way up there. Yes sir. So no little trees now, but little trees are we're going to work on today. So let's check this out. We're going to dig up some roots. So basically I'm going to dig out this here sassafras root and see where we're at. Figure out which way it's going. Looks like it's going forward. So we'll take this shovel here and we'll dig this forward. Right. Smell that. That's a sassafras root. That's one. We put the dirt all back nice and neat here. We managed to get that off with the knuckle. So that pretty much means that this sassafras tree will probably grow back. And we'll see. We have to be respectful of the environment. And the only reason why I'm removing these trees is because there's so many of them back here. Like, you know, there's a couple 50-footers up there. There's probably 5 or 10 of them back there. So these tiny ones that are in the way of the path have to come out anyway. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do. Then when I dig these 3 up, then I will demonstrate what we do with them next. And there's your sassafras root right there. It'll be cut off right where the dirt level starts, and then it'll be washed, and we will take the bark off of it. So now I got that one and that one over there. So anyway, this is what I got here. Big old pile of sassafras roots. Go ahead, I'm going to hose all the dirt off of them. Let's get back here in the shade where we can see them better. So sassafras root bark right there. We're gonna wash them off. If you just sell this by the pound, I would imagine, I think it's 44 bucks a pound or something. There's got to be 20 pounds there. Of course, I don't smell it, I use it, so yeah. So there you go, there's your root bark. Trust me, it ain't easy digging this crap up either. My back hurts and I'm dirty and yay. All this for root beer, right? Or is it just root beer? Who knows, right? Okay. Okay, anyway, the next step, after you've harvested the roots and washed them off, is to take the root bark off the actual root. So what you want to do is you want to scrape the root bark off. You notice it comes off relatively easy. And there's this little white spot here that, you know, mostly cellulose. But that contains a lot of the essential oils too. You definitely want to get that off. So just go through and you just scrape the stuff off like that. Okay. And this is the root bark. This is what you'll be using to make, you know, your root beer and saffron or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish out of this. I'm just after the fresh root beer, but I noticed that a lot of people are concerned with the saffron because the FDA has claimed it a carcinogen, which means in rats it causes cancer, but they gave them such an ungodly amount. The thing is that, you know, cigarettes cause cancer too, but they can sell that. So really what they're trying to do is they're trying to thwart the synthesis of MDMA or ecstasy, because I guess isosafrole, which is made out of this stuff, is one of the key precursors for making ecstasy. So, you know, that's their way of saying, no, you can't have it, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to go into the specifics of isosafrole unless someone really wants to know how to do it. I can demonstrate it, but that's not what I'm doing this for. This is all for purely research and root beer. So, now a lot of people say, oh, well, wait a minute, root beer means it's the roots. But, if you ever noticed, like way back in the day when A&W used to have those nice frosty root beers, like back in the late 70s, that was the real stuff, and it was a hit, right? Sometime during the late 70s, early 80s, or maybe even a little bit later than that, the FDA stepped in and said, no, it causes cancer, no way, can't use it, blah, 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 blah. And then they switched to like a vanillin or other type of additive they put in for flavor, which, you know, wasn't quite the same, but people say, well, it's the root, it's not the root bark. But if you notice, one of the brands of root beer, one of the good ones, was Barks, and it was called Barks root beer. Why do you think it's called Barks? And you notice when I scrape that off, it'll turn brown again, and the reason is because that's the oils in there that are causing it to turn that color again. So the more you chip that color off, the more of the essential oils you can get out of it, but we're not really after that. So, well, I mean we are, but we're not. See, the problem with this is that the saffron in the root bark is pretty much the aromatic and the flavor of root beer. So if you take all the saffron out, you're not going to get a root beer that tastes any good. You know, so we want to take some of the saffron out, but not all of it. And that's what I'm going to be demonstrating in this short tutorial on sassafras and sassafras tea and so forth and so on. We've already been through some of the basics, like you know, what a sassafras tree looks like. It's real easily confused with the paper mulberry, which has the same kind of leaf patterns, only they have teeth on the end of their leaves, little serrations, and you can kind of tell the difference. They're glossier. They you know, they got those teeth on them. They sometimes can have 3 lobes instead of just you know, or 4 lobes instead of 3. They can be, now with sassafras you got the oven mitt left and right, you got the 3 lobe, you got the single, but with a paper mulberry you can also have one that's got like a double oven mitt, where it's got 2 left thumbs or 2 right thumbs, and also it's got those serrated teeth on the ends. That's how you know that that's not what it is. Plus you can kind of tell by the fact that the stems aren't yellow or orange. These stems are yellow and orange on the actual sassafras, and you can smell it. It smells just like root beer, I mean, or a real pungent what would you call it, like camphory kind of smell. Yeah. Alright, so we got a little pile. These little roots work just as well, but for our purposes we have to scrape the bark off. You don't want any wood material in there if possible, just the bark, which is real easy to do. You just simply run your blade along it, peel it off, let it drop in there. And these things work great for toothbrushes. They used to use them for toothbrushes, you know, back in the days. Believe it or not, sassafras was one of the very first exports from the New World. When Leif Erikson or Christopher Columbus, whoever you believe in that actually discovered America, came over here, by the early 1600s, they were shipping stuff back to England, and the very first ships to ever go over there was full of sassafras. And that was because the Native Americans thought that it was like the miracle cure-all potion of the century, plus the wood, which is naturally water resistant, or waterproof pretty much, was used for shipbuilding. It's used for building really extravagant furniture because of the black lines that go through its, I mean, it's a really beautiful wood all the way around. But after about 10 years, there wasn't enough to even ship, I think the first shipment was around 3,000 pounds or so. But after 10 years, they could barely get 3 pounds because they had pretty much decimated the tree population in the Americas. So it only grows in, you know, the eastern Americas, eastern North America. Some of them do grow in Asia. They were introduced. But yeah, it's you know, it's a subtropical tree. But it can grow in any climates, and being that it's a semi-annual like it is, it can drop its leaves and come back. It doesn't have to grow in a tropical environment, so that's what kind of made it cool. So I still think that sassafras is cool. So that's why I'm showing you all this. This is kind of a boring part, and I've given you some of the history, so go ahead and cut you off, and I'll come back when I'm stuffing my column, and we'll see if we can't get some essential oils off of this. Okay? Then maybe after that, I'll show you how to make the best root beer that's ever been made. We're going to need some sarsaparilla and some cinnamon, a few other things, but for right now, let's just concentrate on this. And this is what you'll have left if you clean it up right. Now that brown is still all oil. Oh God, that smells good. Okay, so I'll get back with you shortly. Okay, now what we want to do, so I'm going to take these here clippers and I'm going to snip up the bark into little pieces so we can feed it into my vessel that I'm going to use to do the saturated distillation, which is just a standard, you know, simple distillation. Cold water, you can boil it right in the water. This is kind of a steam, but it's a saturated distillation because this oil is a little bit more dense than water, so the problem is this oil sinks, so it's kind of pointless to do a steam distillation even though the hydrosol would contain the oil. I don't know why set it up so intricately when you don't have to. So basically I just crammed this in here. I want to get about this is a 1 liter 3-neck flask. One of the things with these is at first it starts bubbling up, so you have to be very careful about that or you're going to end up pouring your collection flask right back into it and starting over. You want to go about halfway into the flask. Now you want pieces that are usable but not so big that you can't get them back out. It's amazing what a pressure washer will do though in your time of need. Now one of the cool things about this is you can go ahead and you can use regular tap water because you're going to be distilling it anyway. That always helps out. So here we got our fresh, waste not, want not, right? Alright, we got our fresh sassafras roots. There's an actual couple of roots I guess we could stick in there, but we still want to get them back out, so make them a little smaller. Anything that I've spilled on the ground, I go ahead and throw that in there too. We're distilling, so it's not like dirt or anything else can come over. I got some back here that I want to throw in there. Okay, anyway, besides the dead spiders and everything, a little bit of dog hair in there, and then that will come over. And then you just kind of shake it out, and that's about what you want. About, you know, about a third to a half. You don't want to overdo it more than that. And then you want to go ahead and you want to put in about 500, well, let's go 300 milliliters of water in this one. That way we can count what we get back out. Okay, so the next step is we put the water in the flask, just regular old tap water. I try to grease all the fittings so everything's still somewhat movable. Okay. So we want everything greased, and in case I want to pull a vacuum, which I can do from that right there. But basically we got water circulating from a bucket which is full of ice. Well, will be full of ice shortly. I'm using a semi-shallow oil bath and just an electric mantle. And of course I have my little lift under here, so that if I have to drop it a little bit to get the temperature down, it's nice to have that because you can do a little fine-tuning. Like if you can't get that thermostat just right, you can always lower the pan out of the oil and give a little more surface area on the glass to cool it off with. And we're looking at we're trying to get it right up about I'd say maybe 100, somewhere in there, 110 at the most. And what'll happen is the volatile oils will come over with the steam. They'll form an azeotrope and come over into the collection flask. And in this case, the essential oil sinks to the bottom. Most cases it floats on the top because it's less dense than water, but in this particular case, saffron and, you know, being 80 to 90% in this stuff is going to sink. So it's just a basic distillation setup. No, you know, there's no reflux or anything involved in this. Okay, so it's very easy. I mean, we're not going to fractionate this, so we don't need a fraction column, even though I have one sitting back there in case I need to use it. I think let's see, where's my fractional column? I think it's that one right there. I don't know, I got so much glassware, I don't know what to do with it all, but anyway, so that's that. So just a basic hydrosol. Pull it over here, get the oil out. I saved the hydrosol. There's a jar of it right there. It's got some oil in it, but I use it for other things. It's great to throw in baths. You know, you can't really get any aromatics out of it that much, because if you throw it in your atomizer, it'll just boil water off. You'll get steam that smells good, but it won't have any. You need the essential oil, but it takes so long to get the oil out of this. I mean, it's not worth burning it all, you know. I mean, it's precious. You know, it's like rose oil. It's, you know, it takes so many petals, just like this. It takes so many roots to get just a little bit of essential oil out of it. But you get the idea. I'll show you when it starts coming over what it looks like. I've run this situation the last 3 days straight, so that's why it's kind of cloudy and dirty. But let me ice this up, because I can see it's getting close to temp. And not just the thermometer I depend on, but I also got the handheld unit. I mean, I check the temperature constantly. I don't want to go over like maybe 110 at the most. Okay, so now you get the idea of trying to get that, and then I'll go ahead and show you the rest of it. Alright, so basically what you have here, so we're approaching 100 degrees, and you have to kind of pay attention to this, because it's real easy for this to foam over and then come down into your collection flask. So we don't have anything coming. Well, actually we do have something coming over already. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but see the drips? Yeah, that's your hydrosol. But in the beginning you have to pay attention to this, because it will foam over. And until you get it to the point where it doesn't foam over anymore, which is probably 5 minutes of boiling, you can pull your plug and just blow a little air in there, and it'll sit right back down. So that kind of helps. If you're going to pull a vacuum on it, then you have to really pay attention, because you don't want to suck foam up into your condenser, because that will ruin your whole batch. You'll have to start over again. So it's very important for the first 10 minutes to pay attention to the boiling and make sure that it doesn't foam up. Now after 10 minutes or so, you don't have to worry about it anymore. You're just getting rid of excess CO2, a few other things, and then it won't be so foamy, and then you're okay. So just be prepared to pull this plug and blow into it a little bit. See, watch, I can demonstrate here. Yeah, see how everything settled down right away? And that root beer smell is just insane. Okay, so they got the foam down. You just do that a few times so you got a nice good flow coming over here. Okay, and that'll be your hydrosol, and the hydrosol will be carrying the essential oil with it. So you can kind of see it in there. See it dripping ever so slowly. It'll come over in spurts too. I'm sorry my glassware is so messed up, so let's see if we can catch some of the hydrosol. And you can see it. Matter of fact, you can still see it. You can see a little bit of oil in there too. So come on, baby. Let's bleed some oil. Anyway, when it's going good, I'll demonstrate. If we were to pull a vacuum on it right now, it would really start producing, but The thing is you know, you need it to get down through the condenser, and you know, you got that little pile right there, you got this little pile right here that's got to get through, so it's got to do some filling of margins before you see. There we go, there was a drop, another drop, another drop. See, now that's a good flow there, about 1 or 2 drops every couple seconds. And it'll be a milky color, and the milky color will have the oils in it, and then we will isolate the oils after that, and we'll take it from there. Okay, well, as we're sitting here waiting for my my hydrosol to collect so I can show you how to work with the oils here, I wanted to help you with the identification of the actual tree itself. Now, the sassafras tree can have 4 different leaf patterns. You have your single leaf, your triple leaf, your right-handed thumb, and your left-handed oven mitt, I guess they call them, mittens, or whatever. Okay? Over here, you have tiny, small ones, single leaves. They use these for what they call filet powder. If you've ever gotten into Cajun cooking or had some food from Louisiana, I mean, especially gumbo or any kind of Creole cooking, filet is used in that. Matter of fact, they have a filet gumbo, and that's made out of these leaves. As a matter of fact, I have a tray of these leaves drying out right now just for that purpose. Of course, I don't use them for that. What I do is I mix these ground up leaves. Once I get the stems out and grind them up into a powder, I mix them with some honey and a few other ingredients. Then I make a wound poultice that you can put in a wound, and it'll heal it quite quickly. Matter of fact, I found that it works really good for pressure ulcers and other things. They have something called meta honey that they usually use for that, but this seems to work better for some reason. I'm not sure why. I'm not going to give you all the ingredients for obvious reasons, but anyway, that's your identification leaves right there. You got the trident, single leaf, right-handed mitt, left-handed mitt. Okay, now paper mulberry looks the same, only they have more of an incumbent kind of shape to the leaves, and then they have serrations on the edges of the leaves. And also, they'll have leaves that have 2 thumbs on them instead of just 1. So you don't want to mistake this for the paper mulberry. And of course, the fruits on the paper mulberry are different too. So for identification purposes, you know, all along eastern America, probably from Florida up, right along the east coast, that's where you find the sassafras. The further south, where the climate that doesn't get winter, seems to contain more oil, but the stuff north of that does experience winter has, I think, a better flavor for making root beer and some other things. So, but you know, it's all pretty useless without your sarsaparilla and cinnamon and a few other things. Some people brew the root beer just simply with sassafras, but you know, I try to perfect things, and you know, that's my thing. But yeah, so we're still collecting, and we'll see where that goes. It's still dripping in there, drop by drop. You can see it splash, splash, splash. You know, we're bubbling pretty good in there. So we'll take it till we get about, we'll keep adding water in this vessel till we get about to the top of that 500 milliliter round bottom flask, and that's when it'll pretty much be done transferring the essentials, and then we'll go on to extraction and centrifuge and how to get this pure. And that's all I'm going to include in this video. If you wanted, maybe in part 2 I'll go from essential oil to saffron, maybe saffron to isosafrol, etc., etc. You know, obviously I don't use any of this, but for educational purposes, it's kind of nice to know what you can do with it. And then what I do with the resulting product that I have left, here, looking here in my refrigerator, this right here is my root beer. This isn't beer yet. This is just the essence of it. It still has to be treated with the yeast. It self-carbonates. It will eat up the sugars, but then other sugars, I use brown sugar, has to be added, and it will carbonate itself. And good root beer will average about 1 to 2% alcohol by volume. 2 is a little bit heavy. I try to keep it around 1 to 1.2 or 1.5, but that's where you want your root beer to be. But the brewing part of it will probably be in part 2 of this series. So, you know, this is basically, you know, where I'm at right now. So if you're interested in Sassafras or some of the benefits that Sassafras offers, besides the FDA saying it just causes cancer because of the saffron, then maybe we can experiment with that a little bit further. Okay? So hopefully that kind of showed you what to look for if you're looking for sassafras. You know, if you dig under the root a little bit and scrape it with a knife, you can definitely smell the root beer flavor, or you know, anyway, that piney kind of pungent aroma that you know that it's got something in it, something volatile like an oil. So that should help you out with identification. Just stay away from those paper mulberries. Remember, no teeth on the edges. No teeth. You don't want teeth there. You want it to be smooth edged. They're smooth edged leaves. See, if you look at this leaf very carefully, if I can get a hold of it. See, that's a smooth edged leaf. There is no serrations on there. Okay? No serrations. Alright. That is your sassafras. And these ones right here used for filet are great to chew on. See that? I mean, it's still not quite dry. Oh yeah. Delicious. Now they use the powder of this for a soup thickener, for Creole seasoning, etc., etc. You want to pick the ones that don't have too many caterpillar bites out of it. By nature, these plants with their active compounds in them kind of deflect bugs from the tree itself, but caterpillars and things will eat the leaves, and you know, there you go. Okay, this will be the last part of production until we get into the rest of the series. By the way, this is Doc's series of supers. I call them supers. We're doing super phytos, super bios, super mycos, which would be plant, fungus, live animals, different toxins, different elements, you know, stuff like that. I call these the supers because these are the ones that were most renowned through the ages and were the most recognized back in the day. Kind of like the sassafras, you know, being one of the... Now the Indians, Native Americans back in the Americas, used to use this stuff to heal grievous wounds. Like they'd always be fighting and cutting each other, shooting each other with arrows. You know, they'd fight with the cowboys, and they believed in this stuff for treating their ailments and for treating their grievous wounds. So one of the experiments that we're going to do in this series is we're going to take a diabetic patient that has some pressure sores on his ankles, and we're going to see if we can't heal him with sassafras. Whether it be the leaves or the extract or whatever, but I want to show you what we have here, and then we're going to go ahead and transfer it. So let me grab this camera here. It's going to be a little noisy, so hang in there. Oh, come on, baby. Alrighty, so what we got is, alright, if you look up into the bottom of this, okay, you see that right there? See all them bubbles? All them bubbles and all that crap. That is the oil. Okay, so we're going to give this a swirl, and then we're going to extract. See, now you can see it better. See the oil sitting down in there? We're going to extract this oil out of here. Okay? And extract that oil out of there, and we're going to put it in its own vessel. And then we can take some of the hydrosol, and one of the things you can do is either you can add DCM and liquefy it right into the DCM, and then evaporate the DCM and be left with the oil that's suspended here in this solution, we'll call it, or suspension of hydrosol, and you know, get the rest of the oil out. But we're not going to go that far because I don't want to add any other chemicals to this. I want to do things with just water, keep it as natural as possible. Now, some of the uses for this hydrosol is, like I said, for bathing. You can soak your wounds in it with a little bit of Epsom salt. It reduces swelling. It helps regulate sugar in your body, is what I was told. I mean, I don't know any of this for sure. That's why we're gonna get into it in the next chapter of this video, which would be Sassafras 2. But right now, there's our oil. We're gonna go ahead and pull it out. See that big old blob of oil in there? Look at that. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to suck that out with a pipette, put it in a different vessel, and then see what we got. So stay tuned. Okay, well, here we go. You can see the layer on top, which is pretty much water. And then underneath it is about 7 milliliters of oil, and that would be your sassafras oil, which consists of 80 to 90% saffron. And as you can see, it's relatively clear. I just got to get rid of that little water layer on the top. If it starts to yellow, it means there's some impurities in there. So see the little water layer on top? You want to leave a little bit of that to seal that in so it's not getting any air. So I mean 7 milliliters, 7 8 milliliters, whatever it is pretty good. Now the rest I can pull out of this hydrosol simply by centrifuging it in these little centrifuge containers, which I have to give a shout out to the Poor Man's Chemist on his channel for suggesting to do that. I'd rather do that than add DCM or any other solvent. I try to keep things natural here at MCG. So, but anyway, there you go. There's the isolated essential oil right there, nice and clear and pure. Once you get the water layer off the top there, which is no big deal, you just pipe it out, and there you go. I mean, there's your essence of the sassafras right there, and that contains your pretty much your scent, your flavor, and everything else. Now, what's left in here will be drained and put into the vat for root beer minus the saffron. So this will be, you know, I mean, there is some saffron in it, just enough to give it flavor and some you know, content, but it's not past the threshold of it being a carcinogen by any means. I mean, you know, so that will go on to make the root beer. And if you're interested in anything else to do with sassafras, just let me know. The next part 2 of the Sassafras Super Phyto series, will be about its healing properties. But right now I just wanted to demonstrate how to get it. Okay? So now you know. Now this can also be converted into just pure saffron, and then onto isosafrole, and then can also be used in the synthesis of ecstasy or MDMA. I'm not going to go that route unless everybody's interested in how to do it. Obviously, I'm not going to include all the steps, but being a research lab here, I can do it legally. I don't want to give out too much information. I mean, after all, this is about basically harm management, if that's what you want to call it, harm reduction. So anyway, there you go. And also in this series there will be a couple super phytos. One of them is obviously the opium poppy. We're going to get into super bios, which would be like 5-MeO DMT or the shaman toad medicine. We're doing ayahuasca. We're doing mycotoxins like psilocybin, psilocin. We're going to dip into maybe muscarine and muscarish or fly agaric mushrooms. There's going to be many parts to this super series of mine where I'll demonstrate all the ins and outs, but this isn't it. This is just part one of the Sassafras super phyto. So take that as you will, but there you go. That's how you isolate the essential oil from sassafras, and make a fillet, and how to identify the plant, what it's good for. Next we're going to use it to heal some grievous wounds on patients with diabetes and pressure sores that can't get relief from any other kind of medication or any wound care clinic. So after debridement, it wouldn't get any smaller. So we're going to give this a shot on a couple of the really tough patients, which of course aren't going to be identified, but we'll see if this can make a difference. Alright? So this is Doc Super Series, man. Enjoy.